This is Echeveria Lola, and this is Echeveria Lilacina. Now, side by side, can you tell which one is Lilacina and which one is Lola? In this video, I'd like to show you the differences between Echeveria Lola and Echeveria Lilacina. Hello there, my name is Liz, a self-confessed succulent addict. Welcome to my channel, Growing Succulents. Jotica Gonsalves says, Liz, please do a video on Lilacina and Lola. These two are so confusing. If you were to look across the board on all these plants here, you would probably be able to guess which one is Lola and which one is Lilacina. No? If I didn't grow these plants, I would probably be confused myself. First of all, Echeveria Lola is a hybrid or a cross between Echeveria Lilacina and Echeveria Derenbergii. So now you can see where the Lola, so this is an Echeveria Lola or a seed-grown Echeveria Lola. You can see where the green came from the Echeveria Lola. It's got its green trait from Echeveria Derenbergii, which is a smaller form of Echeveria compared to Echeveria Lilacina. So this Lilacina here is grown under the shelf and did not get enough sunlight, therefore it's grown quite big and open. Whereas this one here is grown out in the sun, and that's why it's smaller and more compact compared to the other one here that's been grown in the shade. This one receives morning sun and midday sun. This one receives midday sun and afternoon sun. So you can see the differences between those two. Where you grow your succulents or your Echeveria Lilacina in this case, it will dictate as to the shape and form of the plant. Now this one here is also Echeveria Lilacina. So I like to put labels on all my pots and plants unless I specifically know exactly what they are. So this one doesn't have a label, or doesn't have a label, but I do know that this is a Lilacina that I placed in this pretty pot and also planted in my advanced soil mix. So the soil mix that one use will determine the shape, form, and the look of the plant as it grows. So this one here as well is grown in my advanced soil mix in a pretty pot. I like to call these pretty pots, but you can see the two are very similar, but this one on the left is much lighter compared to this other double head Lilacina. This is also a Lilacina, but you can see that the color for one is quite different. It's got a ghosty, grayish, pinkish color. So whereas the Lola over here has got more of a pinkish green. So Lilacina has got gray, pink color, ghostly color, whereas the Lola has got more of the green, pink color that's similar to a Derenbergii over here. So in here as well, this is my mother Echeveria Lola. So I have two mother plants. So this is my mother plant of seed-grown Echeveria Lola, and this is my mother plant of my standard Lola that I got labeled as Lola. It's also very difficult to tell with so many tissue culture, the way it's grown, who grows it, and where it's exposed to, as to determining the look of a plant, because they will look different depending on the area or the location you've grown them in. So now this one here is an Echeveria Lola, but it's more pink compared to the mother plant. So this baby plant came from this mother plant, and so as this one here. Now this Lola here came from that plant there, and this one I've only ever have one baby from this so-called, I believe, is also an Echeveria Lola, but I got this as an Echeveria Michaela. or onslow. So whether it's actually an onslow is very difficult to tell. So that's why people also mislabel things. So this is where the confusion comes in for a lot of people who grow succulents and trying to identify them, because they can look very, very similar. I had a lady come over here to have a look at my garden once, and she said, why are you growing plants that all look the same? And I said, they don't look the same. Each one of them has their own traits that makes them different from another plant. But now I do believe that that lady, what her statement is quite correct, because it can be confusing. So if you put the pink Lola here against the Lilacina on the left, then you scratch your head as well and think, is that a Lola or a Lilacina? Because it does look like a Lilacina. But Lilacina also, the center of the rosette, if you notice, it's more open compared to this Lola here that's sort of closed off. So that trait, it would have gotten that from the Derenbergii, which is also closed off. So do you see what I'm talking about? So the center rosette sort of close off to itself like this, whereas the Lilacina is more open. So this is actually, sorry, this is not a Lilacina. I'm gonna put this aside for now because that's gonna confuse me. So now this one is a Lilacina, and that's a Lilacina, and every single one of them you can see Lilacina. Also, I just have to check just to make sure that that's also a Lilacina, and also a Lilacina. So none of them have that close off trait in the center like this. Now also this one, you can see it's open. So every single one, whether they're stressed or not, has got an open. So it's more open plan. And then the Lola is a closed plan. Now this is a monstrous form of Lilacina, and you can even see that this one also has an open form or an open plan. Now these two here, is this a Lilacina too? Now this one, this is where the confusion comes in, because this one is called lilac pearl. So it's a hybrid of some sort of a Lilacina from maybe PVN or something like that, but then again, or maybe an Orion. So I don't know where or what she's crossed this with, or anyway, hang on, I'll move this over here, take that off, and then, so this is a lilac pearl, and that one there looks similar to this Orion. So this is an Echeveria Orion, and again, Echeveria Orion has got the same coloration as Echeveria Lilacina, but it's more pink, or should I say pinkier, than the Lilacina here. So Lilacina still has that ghosty, more farinous, or it's got a lot more farina than the Orion, and also Lilacina has more farina than a Lola. Also, depending on the time of the year or the season, right now it's summer here in Australia, and during summer Lola tends to close off. When the temperature goes down or it cools down, then they tend to open up. And also in the garden, they're more open than the ones that are grown in the pot. Now this one here, okay, so those two are lilac pearl. Now this one is Lilacina, 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 Lilacina grown in the shade, Lilacina grown in the sun, and the sun's just starting to come out, and also Lilacina grown in the shade, and this one is grown in the sun. Now this is where the confusion comes in now. So for now, I'm going to leave it as, so far, the best way to tell a Lola from a Lilacina is that the smaller leaves will be a Lola. In the cases we're in, like the seed grown here, which looks like it's got bigger leaves, now you can tell by the center part or the coloration as well. So seed grown, I feel this is actually grown in my 50% UV shade cloth area, and that one is grown in full sun. I'm gonna take this one now. This is a morning beauty. You say, what? Yes, this is an Echeveria morning beauty. Now the mother plant, this is actually grown from a leaf. So when I first started growing morning beauty, now I'm going to take my morning beauty, the mother of this one is this one. So this is my oldest morning beauty, apart from the one that's in my front garden already growing there. And this one, you can see that the leaves resembles more like a Lola. So if you see the shape, so it's got that funny flicky thing, but you can see that the color is different. So the color has got a bluish tinge to a morning beauty compared to a Lola. And also, depending on how it's grown, this one is a smaller version. There's morning beauty in my garden that are actually quite big. So depends on the fertilizer and where it's grown and all that sort of stuff as well. But now I've taken some leaves from this mother plant and grown it into this. I did not intentionally grow it into that, it just did its own thing. So this is a morning beauty, and I have one plant grew like the mother, exactly like this, and two of them, the other two leaves, grown or taken from this mommy here, grew into this. Now if I compare this with a Lilacina here, you can, I mean, you could forgive it. I can easily be forgiven for saying that this is a Lilacina, because it does look like a Lilacina. You could not say, like, the leaf shape, the color, everything, the size, it's a Lilacina. But I know it's a morning beauty because I label my plants, and this plant has been isolated and grown because it just fascinates me that something like that would give birth to something like this. I've always joked about me being different from my siblings. And I kept saying to people, when people ask, why do you look so different from your relatives, your brothers and sisters? And I would say, because I'm adopted. So maybe this one is adopted, but I do know that this, if you were to do a DNA test, this will show that this came from that. And also, the leaves was taken from an inflorescence. So when this flowered and have leaves, I've taken the leaves from that and grew it into that. These Echeveria Lolas are grown in the garden. This Lola is much paler compared to the ones grown in the pot. The ones that are grown in the pot has got more pink and more vibrant colors than being grown in the ground. And that's why they're probably much healthier than the ones that's being grown in the pot. And in saying that, how about let's go measure it. So this Echeveria Lola is about 4.5 inches across or diameter. This is the biggest Lola I have growing so far. Now let's compare it with the Lilacina. This would have to be my biggest Lilacina that's grown in the garden. So how about let's go measure it. So Lilacina goes from the tip of your nose to the tip of your toes. That's almost 8 inches. So that's about, look, almost 8 inches across. They will grow much bigger when they're planted in the ground compared to grown in the pot. Now, just to add to the confusion, this one here is not a Lilacina. This is called an Echeveria Pollux, which looks very much like a Lilacina, but Echeveria Pollux grows much bigger than the Lilacina. So let's go and measure this one. So this one is, you can see that probably right now it'll be 9-10 inches across, and it would have been bigger had it not been grown with all these plants around stopping it growing. I had one grown at the front, which sadly I did not take a video or a picture that grew 12 inches across. So I don't know whether after watching this video, I'm able to shed some light into the differences or similarities of Lola and Lilacina, and also now Pollux. Now, I don't want to confuse you more than you probably already still are. This one here, these two are called Peerless, Echeveria Peerless. Apparently, it's a Korean hybrid. And these two, one of them was the original mother plant, wherein I propagated one plant. So either this is the mummy or that's the mummy, I don't know. But anyway, this one I know for sure is a baby that came from one of these plants. And look at the difference. So now this one looks more like a Lilacina again. So that's why it can be confusing when you have so many plants that look the same, and also hybridizing the succulents also doesn't help. So anyway, guys, I hope I'm able to shed some light or confuse you more with this video. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you on the next video. Now, you're not a Lola. Now I just have to put this all back to where it came from.